evening. Welcome to our Thursday premiere episodes. Every Thursday night at 8 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. This week we're going to start on, continue the October 1988 letter. Welcome. I have Judy Selgerman and Deb Ogden with me, and Deb's going to kick us off.
All right. Well, we're talking about forgiveness. And we hear this phrase often that starts with, forgive and forget. One day, these words continually pounded my mind. Forgive and forget. They were there at every turn, in every thought, and with everything I did. Forgive and forget. Forgive and forget. I finally had to admit to myself that if I could possibly forgive my husband for the times he hurt and disappointed me, I would find it impossible to forget them. How could I forget? The memory of the past still had the power to pierce my heart and tear my eyes. I had been wounded in battle. They, whoever they are, say that time heals all wounds, but it really doesn't. Instead, the pains in life get buried in our soul only to surface when they are brought to mind or when we're hurt again.
I can remember this day so clearly. It was a long time ago. But I was hurt. And it's all I could think about. Like, how could this person do this to me? I'm so disappointed. I mean, I cried in self-pity. I felt sorry for myself. I didn't feel I deserved to be treated like this. And I know it was the Spirit of God because it was almost audible. The words that said, forgive and forget, forgive and forget. And I didn't know how. And I kept saying, okay, I'll forgive, but how do you forget?
Yeah.
How does it, because when you're hurt, now there's physical, I might punch her.
Don't do that.
Okay? And there's a physical wound, but I could say something to you, and there's a wound to your soul.
Mm-hmm.
It's much deeper. Physical wounds heal, but soul wounds, unless they're dealt with.
Pierce my heart is how you said it, and I would agree. That's those soul wounds. They pierce you. It feels like that, a pinch or a sting.
Or a cut.
Yeah. And nobody knows how bad you hurt because they can't see it.
Right.
If someone punched me in the eye, I'd have a bruise, and they go, oh.
Yeah.
But when you have a soul wound, there's no one saying, oh. They usually say, get over it.
Yeah.
Today they do. I like in the Old Testament when they were lamenting or mourning, where they would put ashes on their head. They did something to physically show how they internally felt. I wish they had that today.
You're walking around with a lot of dusty people.
Yeah.
You see those people down in the streets of downtown Pittsburgh too. Because, it was an outward sign of something that had to be done internally.
Yeah.
And
See it.
I know that we've all been wounded. And we call them triggers, and if they're not dealt with, say someone hurt me in the area of romance, even when I was young. Maybe I had an old boyfriend that disappointed me and really hurt me. You know, time, you feel like people say time heals all wounds. It really doesn't though. But as time goes on, it's not on the surface,
Right.
that pain. But anytime anyone else would hurt me in a similar fashion, now I'm not dealing with just happened today. I'm dealing with what happened to me maybe years ago. And that's one of the reasons why, yes, when we forgive others, like we said last week, it helps to set them free.
Yeah.
But it also is a soothing balm for the wounds in our soul. Forgiveness.
Yeah.
I like something I've heard just a little while ago. I distinctly recall forgetting that, like that sin towards me. It was just a way to start phrasing that forgetfulness, that you're not really forgetting, but you're distinctly recalling forgetting that sin against you.
Yeah.
I recall forgetting that.
As we go on here, and I feel like we're like, we can't stop here.
Right. Yeah.
Because as we said last week, when we forgive someone else, that forgiveness is based on the cross of Christ.
Right.
The healing for our soul wound is also based on the cross of Christ. It says in the last chapter of 1 Peter chapter 2 that he was wounded for our transgression, and that it healed our souls.
I like how you based it on the cross of Christ, to kind of elaborate there, to not base it on, well, they weren't feeling good that day. Well, they grew up in this manner. Well, they whatever. Or
Whatever
maybe
excuse, yeah.
with no excuses. You don't need to add excuses to anything to forgive a person.
Right.
You know they don't really deserve your forgiveness at times. So it's complete grace and mercy to forgive and give somebody something they don't deserve, just as God gives us things we don't deserve.
You know what, I think it's almost necessary to continue here in this reading.
Okay.
We're kind of like
All right.
dangling.
Okay. All right. How could I forget? The memory of the past still had the power to pierce my heart and tear my eyes. I would have been wounded in battle. They, whoever they are, say that time heals all wounds, but it really doesn't. Instead, the pains in life get buried in our soul, only to surface when they are brought to mind or when we're hurt again. And now we're going to continue. The longer we're married, the more the wounds multiply. Eventually, our self-defense mechanisms are triggered, and we build walls to protect ourselves from being hurt again. I know a woman who had a wall of defense built so high around herself that it could be felt by all who knew her. She built this spiritual wall because of a bad marriage, and she was determined to never be hurt again.
Read the next paragraph too.
These walls that we build help to keep pain out, but unfortunately, these walls keep God and others out too. They also keep us from being one with our husbands as God intended us to be.
So we build up these things actually to protect us. I've heard people say, I'll never let anyone do that to me again.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be vulnerable.
Well, and even in that, we think that we're in control of it,
Yeah.
and we're not.
But we can build walls that won't allow us to have intimate relationships with people. And we put these walls up so we won't be hurt. So they can't hurt us, but they can't love us either.
Right.
And we can't love them. This wall we build for our defense is actually hurting us. And I think that all of us, because life is what it is, have walls like this.
Well, it puts us in our own prison, is what it does.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And it's a very lonely place.
Yes, it isolates you from true relationships with people. I think of Jesus when he said to turn the other cheek. Now there we have, someone slaps you, there's no, don't have a defense up. If they slap you again, that's okay. I mean, we're not talking literally slapping somebody, we're talking about somebody hurts you. Don't build a wall, don't retreat, don't hide. Still be vulnerable. God's grace is sufficient for that.
Yeah.
I heard the most wonderful definition of forgiveness it's just something I read a long time ago. It says, forgiving someone is trusting God to help you handle being hurt again.
Well, because it will happen again.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
And life is like that. You're going to be hurt. We're not to isolate ourselves. We're not supposed to have walls of defense. We have to, through forgiveness, those walls come down.
What we hear, though, when we say to someone, well, you need to forgive that person, and it comes back with the defense of, but you don't know what I've been through.
See, that's their walls.
Exactly. exactly. And, and sometimes it's tough to break through that wall, but it's only with the understanding of who Christ is, what he did. And again, we get back to the cross.
Always back to the cross.
Yeah, because we try to fix things in our own capacity, and sometimes we think it's actually working, but it's always limited. It's always limited. But the forgiveness of Christ is unlimited.
Yeah. And forgiveness doesn't mean that you are going to be that person's best friend because you forgave them, but it can still be distance. I don't know, I just wanted to add, like, it's not...
Well, it's not your choice. As much as it abides in you, be at peace with all men.
Yes.
Yeah.
If they don't want to be close to you, that's their business.
Exactly.
It says that a wise man in Proverbs scales the walls of a city and destroys the trusted strongholds. See, they have these walls, and we even as individuals, you might love somebody that has walls up.
Yeah.
By your love and your grace and your forgiveness, you can break down their walls so that they can receive your love and eventually the love of Christ.
Yeah. He's always the answer.
Always is. And it's through forgiveness that this process is initiated.
Yeah, or you're kind of keeping Christ out if you have unforgiveness on your heart.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. And the enemy wants to keep us in unforgiveness,
Yes.
like we talked about before.
It's a weapon of his. It's a scheme of his
Yes,
to
and
keep
we should
people
be-
divided. Especially we as believers now. Satan doesn't want us to have open relationship with anyone.
Right. Right.
So he wants something between us and them. And unforgiveness is the perfect.
And you look, I'm sorry, but you look at families, and we're talking about how families are in more trouble today than ever. Well, this was back in 1988, and it's what we can see now, it looks even worse. But Satan's role is to destroy the family, and he does it with unforgiveness. So when those close relationships, our families are where our intimate relationships begin.
And that's where he, yeah, like
And
you
that's
said,
where he
that's
gets
Satan's
us.
target, really.
It really
He's
is.
targeting the house,
Yeah.
the household, and
Yeah.
how to divide it.
Yeah, somebody
Yeah.
distant from you can't really hurt you
Right.
with
Can't
a
hurt
deep
you the
soul
same
wound,
way.
but the people closest to you can.
Right, and we've talked often about how it's mostly because they don't meet expectations, or we don't meet expectations, so,
Yeah, we expect something and we don't get what we expect, so we're angry.
yeah.
Sometimes we even expect them to say they're sorry.
Don't
So that
wait
we
for
can
that.
forgive them.
Yeah.
They don't have to say they're sorry. We can still forgive because it's a gift that we've been received.
That's
We've
right.
received from Christ forgiveness for our sins, so we can give it out generously.
Absolutely. And with that, we thank you again so much for joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you back here at our Dear Lady Elect Bible Study, Digging Deeper. Have a grace week. Thanks, Judy. Thanks, Angela.
Thank you.